I see Michael has joined. Okay.
Yeah.
Sergio Cabañas is here, but I cannot sign in the attendance list.
Okay, let me put the Google Sheet on the.
It doesn't give me the rights to edit the list.
Sergio, give me 1 more minute. I'm about to make that change.
Why don't you just sign for me so I don't have to get out of this one for me, if you don't mind, Daniela?
Okay.
No, yeah, I downloaded I showed you, and I added to the same theme.
Yeah, since this is our first time with the sign-in sheet, if you could just confirm who's here by using the chat feature, we can improvise. Really thank you all for your patience. In order to be compliant with our rules and regulations for this meeting, we do have to have a sign-in for everyone. So we have the Google Doc sheet that will be shared momentarily, but in the meantime, if you're already here, if you could just acknowledge that by putting your name and your organization who you represent in the chat feature, that will be great. And we can go ahead and transfer that onto the Google Sheet for you. We will post the link one more time in a second so that as new members join in, they can use that as well. And this is to mimic what you would experience when you come into a regular session, right? So if you walk into our regular sessions, you would walk in and you would do a sign-in sheet and then it gets authenticated that way. So thank you all for your patience.
It seems a bit far behind. But we'll see. Well, it says mic off, it's moving, but if it where it says audio input capture, on the first one on top,
it's working now. You can edit, and if for those of you who have typed in their name, we'll go ahead and type it for you. In the future, you would be able to just type in present.
Hey, it's Sergio. We're 5 seconds away from going live. Just letting you guys know.
Great, thank you. Okay. So thank you everyone for your patience. We're so excited that we get to learn together on how to facilitate and host these virtual meetings. We have a light agenda, and we're just really excited to hear from you about how you all have been doing, and we have some updates for you. So we'll get started momentarily. So if you haven't already, please type into the chat box that your name so that we know you've arrived. And if you do have a chance, if you're on your computer and you're able to, you can also pull up the Google Doc and press present and type in present that you're here. So I see Michael Moore and Christian Torres already did that. And then we'll type in those for those folks that asked us to. Okay, so I see it's 5:30 on my clock. From the Harder team, could you start typing the names, or can you start typing present for those that you see on here on the roll call sheet, please? Jessica, you're probably familiar with everybody that's joined, so maybe you can help me with that. Okay, great. All right, so it seems that I'm sure some folks are still going to trickle in throughout, but we can get started. I see it's 5:30. I want to make sure that we start on time and that we're mindful of everybody's time. We know we're living through unprecedented times, and we want to make sure that we respect your time and also make you this time together really valuable. So I'll go ahead and get started, and please feel free to, I'll give comprehensive instructions, but please feel comfortable to use the chat. I know some of you have been using it already, so I want to encourage you to type anything in if you have any questions. I'm seeing a comment from Maclovia. She's wondering if she's muted. Jessica or Millie, if you can please unmute Maclovia.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so one quick thing I'll say before diving in, if you just logged in and you didn't hear these instructions before, she's wondering if she's muted. Jessica or Millie, if you can please unmute Maclovia. Click the globe icon.
Thank you. Que hagan clic en el icono del mundo.
Great. Okay, so one quick thing I'll say before diving in, if you just logged in and you didn't hear these instructions before, she's wondering if she's muted. Jessica or Millie, if you can please unmute Maclovia. Click the globe icon.
Thank you. Que hagan clic en el icono del mundo.
Okay, so one quick thing I'll say before diving in, if you just logged in and you didn't hear these instructions before, she's wondering if she's muted. Jessica or Millie, if you can please unmute Maclovia.
Cell phone to her video. Can you stop sharing?
Tienes que enlazar el teléfono al video. How do I do that, Amy?
Let me see. Can you selected interpreter and then you mute original audio so that we can't hear the English on your end.
Who's going to do that? Daniela or Karen?
Video. Can you stop sharing? Daniela, have you selected English?
It doesn't show up that way for me. For me, it just says, that I've selected the it just shows me that I can add interpreters.
So make sure she is added on there.
She is.
And so right now we can see a dual stream.
You can see my dual screen?
No, dual stream. I mean, you can hear English and Spanish at the same time.
Oh, it doesn't show up that way for me. Okay. For me, it just says, so I had added her already, but let me just do it one more time. It just shows me that I can add interpreters.
While that is happening, if we could have this finish going through the roll call. So right now we can we can continue to do that.
You can see my dual screen?
No, dual screen. You can hear English and Spanish at the same time.
Oh, it doesn't show up that way for me. Okay. For me, it just says, so I had added her already, but let me just do it one more time. It just shows me that I can add interpreters. It says that Maclovia's not showing.
If we could have this finish going through the roll call. So right now we can we can continue to do that.
You can see my dual screen?
No, dual screen. You can hear English. Thank you everybody for hanging in there with us. This is the first time that we're going live with a live Spanish translation, and you can select an audio going through the roll call to be either English or Spanish. We can continue to do that. If you selected Spanish, you need to mute your original. Thank you everybody. The first time we're going live with a Spanish. Right now I hear both English and Spanish. What do you guys hear?
Okay, so the issue is that part of the issue is that Maclovia has a phone number
tiene el teléfono.
and the email, and I'm typing in her email. We had already resolved that issue, so I'm not sure why it's not linking her up.
Y habíamos resuelto ese problema, no sé por qué ahorita está volviéndose a repetir el problema.
One. Maclovia, what's your phone number?
619-817-1518. Sorry, it says further. Me habían silenciado. Ya me escuchan otra vez.
Yo le escucho perfectamente, Maclovia.
¿En español?
Muchas gracias.
Español. Yo perfectamente la estoy escuchando.
But you can hear me in English too, right?
¿También la escuchan en español?
¿También lo escuchan en inglés y en español o nada más español?
I
Los
hear
dos
both.
idiomas.
Los dos. Es que deben de escuchar uno o el otro, no deberían de estar escuchando los dos a la misma vez. Ese es el problema, que tiene que ser inglés o español, pero no los dos.
I'm listening to her in Spanish.
Nada más, just in Spanish, that's all you hear is Spanish? That's good.
In English.
Oh,
Both. Yeah, that shouldn't be happening.
I
So
hear
let's-
both.
¿cómo debería de ser?
Okay.
I hear both also.
Okay. Give us a moment while we troubleshoot that issue.
A tratar de resolver este problema.
Okay, Maclovia, can you hang up on your phone and call back on your phone?
Okay.
While we're waiting, if you haven't put yourself as present in the chat, can you please put that you're present and then your name, please, so that I can rename you? Thank you.
Oh. So
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Okay, now. Daniela, make sure she's assigned. I just merged her phone to her account, so now she should be live.
okay, did somebody take my controls? I can't see them anymore.
You can take the controls back, Daniela. I don't know.
Okay, there they are.
I think everyone might need to reselect the language of preference because the little symbol just reappeared. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see a little globe and it should give you both English or Spanish options. So if you click on there, you can select which audio you want.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for making it tonight. We were experiencing some technical difficulties as we imagined, given that this was our first time doing a live stream with live interpretation. I believe that it is now resolved. So what we need everyone to do is select your language of preference. So you can select, there's a little globe on the bottom of
Only people who select Spanish need to mute the original.
Imperial County Air Pollution Control District and what Comité Cívico del Valle are doing for the AB 617 legislation. So, you know, you're here for the May 13th meeting, the AB 617 Steering Committee meeting. It looks a little bit different today, but again, we have a packed agenda, and we have a lot of people here to support with issues that might arise, but we're also going to give you a tutorial on Zoom so that you can get familiar with that. Okay, so just please be aware that this video conference is being recorded, and by participating in Zoom meeting, you authorize recording of the audio and visual content presented.
No objections for my part.
You're going to be famous, Juan. Or who was that, Sergio?
Yes, it was
That was
Sergio Cabañas.
Sergio. Okay. All right, Daniela, so you can hit the record button.
This meeting is being recorded.
Great. All right, and I'll make the announcement a little bit later for those that join a little later, but we sincerely just want to take a moment to just acknowledge that, and I'll go back here so I don't create any confusion, but I'll put the language interpretation instructions there in case you didn't hear those. But we just want to start by saying that we really do hope that you and your loved ones and all of your community are staying healthy. We know that everybody, every single person in this community and around the world have had to make some really tough changes and have experienced, you know, a lot of problems given the pandemic, and nothing is normal about this time. So we just want to acknowledge that and that, you know, the AB 617 co-chairs and Harder & Company wants to support you all as you work through this very important work that you do as part of AB 617 as committee members. I know that we have first responders amongst our committee members, and we want to thank you for all that you do. We want to thank you on behalf of all of the co-chairs and of everyone in the committee. We thank you for all that you do. And again, we just thank you that you're sitting, you know, in front of your screens today to reunite and talk about how it is that we can move this work forward, even under a time of a pandemic. So we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts about what ideas you have. And as you know, we reached out to each committee member individually over the phone to hear your thoughts about what was needed in order to meet virtually. And so, you know, we look forward to more conversations like that. And I also invite you to share those thoughts that you shared with me and with the other co-chairs that reached out to you. I encourage you to share that with the rest of the committee members so that you all can really talk about how it is that you want to spend this time engaging virtually. And really, Harder & Company and the co-chairs are here to facilitate this process, but this is your meeting. This is your, you know, we're just helping you move the work forward by providing, you know, the Zoom account and all of those things, and by being here, facilitating conversations. But, you know, we really want this AB 617 effort to continue to be informed by you, the community, and all of the community residents that you represent. So the purpose of this meeting is to give Comité Cívico del Valle and the Air District an opportunity to share updates on the implementation of the Community Emissions Reduction Program and the Community Air Monitoring Plan. And so we'll start with some opening remarks, and that is where you'll be able to give us your thoughts about how you want to continue to stay engaged, you know, how it is that you want to receive information from us while we're working through a virtual platform, and how it is that you know, you want to meet to make decisions.
Okay, it sounds like we're having a slight delay in the Spanish channel.
Tenemos.
Would it help if I just pause after I talk a little bit?
No, we just have a delay. Can people hear now the Spanish translation?
Hi, this is just a test to see if the situation has been resolved.
Rene, can you hear us in Spanish?
René, ¿sí escuchas en español?
René, ¿nos puede escuchar en español?
René, can you hear us in Spanish?
Millie, could you unmute René? Félix.
Millie, ¿puedes quitarle el silenciador?
René, ¿nos puede escuchar en español?
Yo sí la escucho. En español
De
no
los
la
dos.
escucho.
A mí, a Maclovia, ¿me escucha a mí?
A usted sí la
Bueno.
escucho, Maclovia. Sí,
Gracias.
sí la escucho, Maclovia.
Maclovia, are you assigned as an interpreter on the little globe?
To be honest, I don't see the globe at all.
Daniela, please confirm that she's assigned as the interpreter.
René just told me that he could hear me.
Yeah, but right now we all can hear this conversation. That's why he can hear you.
Oh.
Amy, I'm not sure why it's not letting me add her.
I see her as an interpreter. So I see in parentheses next to her name, it says interpreter.
Okay, can we try and see if that's been resolved?
Vamos a ver si esto está resuelto.
Okay, then there, are you only hearing Spanish now? Okay, let's roll with that. That was a very weird glitch. I wonder if someone's internet resets, if it disconnects. So, you know,
Okay.
thank you. Oh,
Are we good?
just making sure we're good in Spanish. I think so. Señor René Felix, can you hear any Spanish? Thumbs up if you do.
Sí la escucho.
Okay,
All right,
great.
perfect.
I think
So
we
I
can
just want to
continue.
say, I just want to say that, you know, thank you all for bearing with the technology. We're making sure that it works well. This is the first time that we're trying this. this is something that's new, so we're just going to have to be compassionate during this time. Appreciate your patience.
You hear me?
Yes. Okay, great. So I will continue now. So I'm going to display my screen, and I want to show you and take an opportunity to, as you see, it's different to communicate virtually than it is to communicate in person. And so we want to present these, we want to present some suggested guidelines that we can use as we communicate virtually. We want to encourage you to lead with kindness and just be respectful of each other's opinions. We want to encourage you to be flexible with the technology issues when they arise, because as you saw, they do arise. And we also want to make sure that as we're learning today, like we have, I don't know how many, we have 39 people in this virtual meeting. And I just want to acknowledge that, this is a time to learn. This is a time to get it right. And so we're setting the foundation so that we can create an inclusive process where folks can share, and we know that this is going to be a learning process. But again, like we've learned many things throughout the last year together, we will learn and we will be able to move past these technology glitches and get to a point where we can have a meaningful discussion. And so as you saw already, Millie from Harder & Company team is going to be muting and unmuting yourself. So if you want to say something, if you want to share next, we're going to ask that you please raise your hand. There is a feature where you can press reaction, and we would love for you to practice now if you can, and press the reaction button and press the hand.
El icono de la reacción y opriman allí.
And you can also press the raise your hand function. We just think it's easier to see. So we see that Diana right now pressed a thumbs up. And so you can use these reactions to communicate with us. Even if you don't want to unmute yourself to say anything, you can still use that. And you can also use the other icon that's included under reactions. There's a little hand that looks like that. Try that and see how that feels. And we would like to try to use that as the raise your hand, so that it can be easier for our facilitators to see who's raising their hand. But of course, I see, for example, Bob Fisher is raising his hand. And so whichever one you're comfortable with, I think we'll get into the flow of learning, to communicate with each other using those reactions. But those are there for you. And so just to stress what Amy said when she was sharing earlier, and for those people that are raising their hand, I'm going to assume that we're just practicing, and that's okay. I'll come back and see if there are some real questions using the raise the hand function. But for now, I'm going to move forward with what from the slides, and I'll come back to any questions that committee members might have. So, we want to maintain the highest standard of meeting procedures. And so we want to share how we will be voting virtually when the time comes. Today, we don't have any items on the agenda that weren't vote. But if that does arise, I want committee members to be ready to do that. And so here, just summarizing the Brown Act procedures that we will, the procedures that adhere to Brown Act. So the first is, as you saw as you came in, we have an electronic roll call sheet that we will be using every meeting. So you should be able to edit that sheet now, and that roll call sheet will be updated every month in order to reflect the correct date. We will also be continuing to live stream on Facebook the event, and also on YouTube. This meeting is being recorded, so keep in mind that you will be able to access this meeting at a future date. If you, for example, were not able to attend, you can access that, or if you just want to share it with your community, you can also just share that as well. We will also be using the chat feature to vote on a motion. So one of the common motions that we introduce during our meetings is the approval of the meeting minutes. And so one option, the way that we're going to carry forward to adhere to Brown Act will be the facilitator will ask for a motion, and if moved, the facilitator will ask for a second motion, and that will happen via a vote on the chat feature. So if you would like to move a motion or second it, you can raise your hand, and I'll share more about how you do that. And if you're having some questions right now, please type them into the chat box, and one of the facilitators will notify us to address those questions in a moment. The other procedure that we want to review with you is the procedures for public comment. So committee members will have access to the chat box to type in your comments. This is I would say, and I think at Harder & Company, we agree that this is one of the big benefits of having a virtual meeting. We know that many times you're not able to say everything that you want to say. So basically, you want to make sure that you put in your comments in your words. You can type it into the chat box at any time. The really awesome thing about Zoom is that we can actually export the conversation from the chat box, and we will be able to see those comments and put them into the official record. So you can be sure that your comments that are typed in are going into the record. Facilitators will be monitoring that chat box throughout and address questions as they come up. Another option for public residents that are seeing us on Facebook Live, you can email us your questions and comments at mferrer at harderco.com. So mferrer at harderco.com. So just so you know, you can write your email at any point during this meeting, and even after, and we'll be sure that those are captured into the record. And so you should see that email for public comment. You should see that on the screen of Mili Ferrer. And you should also see that email under the link under Amy Ramos. So the background is, some people can do a virtual background. I can't do that, but on Amy Ramos and Mili Ferrer from Harder & Company, you should be able to see the public comment email. If you want to share that with your community and your community residents, please make note of that email. And in future meetings, your community can also submit comments using that email.
Daniela, can you make sure that you hit go live interpretation? Because the interpretation is not working. And when we did the test run through last week, it was working just fine.
Okay. It says that it's on.
And it says that her phone and her account are merged. Because we might just need to set up a separate phone number so that folks can listen to it in Spanish.
Millie, I only see Maclovia once under participants.
Yes, I see her as a participant. I see her in the participant list, but in parentheses, I see interpreter. The only thing is that now if she's unmuted, everybody can hear her at the same volume as we're hearing you in English. And I think what's supposed to happen is that the English should be lower for those who are listening in Spanish. And I think those listening in English shouldn't hear her at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's right. She does show up merged.
Mm-hmm. Maclovia, and we're so sorry. We're just, bear with us. We're trying to figure out why we're unable to get everybody to hear what they're supposed to be hearing.
Hi, Maclovia, can you try again? Can you hear me, Maclovia?
We have to unmute her.
Okay, now Renee should be hearing it in Spanish. Can you use the emotions at the bottom of your... Oh.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So I was saying that I'm sorry for the people that were expecting the interpretation because I've been muted the whole time, so I don't know what's going on. Every time I spoke, I was muted. It said, I got a message that said muted by host each time I opened my mouth. Ya les expliqué que cada vez que abría la boca me ponían en silencio, así de que dispensen a todos los que esperaban que yo les interpretara. Son los problemas técnicos. Señor René, ¿me puede escuchar?
Ahora en español, es que ahorita sí, porque you're in the big meeting. Let's see, we're just going to set up a new phone number. You can mute this call, the video from here, if you want Spanish translation, and we're just going to set up a conference line to call because we don't have time. We're losing time with this. For some reason, it turns on and then it turns off. So I'm going to post a number for you guys to call the Spanish line. So Maclovia, can you translate that in Spanish and say that I will put the actual phone number on the chat box for those that want to listen in Spanish?
Dice la doctora Amy que va a poner aquí en chat el teléfono que ella necesita que ustedes marquen para que puedan entrar al canal en donde va a ser la interpretación porque la forma ahorita no está funcionando. Entonces en chat van a ver el teléfono que ella sugiere que marquen para que me escuchen en español.
Okay. So while that's getting set up, I'm just going to continue, and folks at Harder & Company are going to work on that situation to make sure that Renee has access to it, but we're going to continue in the interest of time. So at this time, we would like to kick it off to the co-chairs to share some opening remarks. You know, I think something that might be at the top of mind agency has been responding to the pandemic, and also if you can share your thoughts about how you think the pandemic is going to affect and impact the AB 617 work. But I'll kick it off to Luis Olmedo so that he can kick it off with the co-chair for today. He can share some opening remarks, and then at that point, we would like to hear from the committee members that would like to share an opening remark. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. And I was going to show up a bit late. I had a conflicting meeting. Christian, on the other hand, is serving as the co-chair for this meeting. So I don't have any new reports. I'll provide some updates later on the New River. But I'll hand it over to Christian, who's the official co-chair for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. I think right now I just want to ask for patience from the CLC members. This is something new that we're trying out. something we hadn't tried before. With the live translation, I know some of us have already used Zoom to attend some video conferencing through work and through school. So I just want to ask for your patience and thank you for hanging in there. I hope everything's resolved with whoever needs Spanish translation. And reminder that we are live streaming this. There's a Facebook live stream in English and the YouTube is in Spanish, which CCV is trying to help facilitate, while Harder moderates the chats for questions from the public. And I'll hand it off to Matt in case he has any opening remarks.
Yeah, hi everyone, welcome. This is a great opportunity to learn how to work with this Zoom program. If you haven't, it is a little frustrating at first. There's little kinks to work out, but I highly encourage you all to hang in there. I think this will be a useful tool for you outside of the 617 area. And with that, let's move this meeting forward. Also here with me today in my office is Reyes Romero, Lynn Leon, and Thomas Brinkerhoff. We're trying to recognize the social distancing. That's why we are wearing scarves. So, Harder, we'll turn it over to you for public comment now.
Yeah, it looks like Rosa has a question. Rosa, you are unmuted. Go ahead.
No, I didn't have a question. I just hit the wrong icon.
Oh, yeah, you can have reactions. They have the palms and the thumbs up. So thank you.
Okay. Would any other committee member like to share an opening remark? If you do, just remember to unmute, to raise your hand and we will unmute you. Cedra, I think you unmuted yourself. Please go ahead.
No, I have no comments. Just want to move forward with the meeting.
Okay. Are there any other comments from any of the committee members? If you do have, you would like to make a comment, you can raise your hand. I don't see any. So at this point, Rosa, I see you unmuting yourself. Just want to make sure you don't want to say anything. Okay, either those are just thumbs up that you don't have a comment, right? Okay. All right, we can move on to any public comments. So we're just going to take a moment to see if there are any comments coming in from the email, and we will see if there are any comments coming from the public on the Facebook page. We will also check the YouTube link and see if there are any comments coming from there.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the modifications that we have to make because we're live on an online platform. So normally this would be the time to have public comment and we wait around and we look for the public comment. In this case, we will be monitoring it, and on our end as facilitators, we have a team of 5 with us today so that we can monitor all devices, all platforms. And so we will look for the opportune time to interrupt today's meeting to provide you with that public comment. So with that said, Daniela, we can go on to the next agenda item.
Okay, great. So for this next agenda item, we are gonna give you some more details about Zoom. I know that you've had to learn a little bit about how to use Zoom right now since we've been troubleshooting, and hopefully you've had the chance to look at those reactions and see that there are a wide range of buttons under your toolbar. So I won't go into too much detail over the things that we've already presented, but we just want to point your attention that these items are part of Zoom. They're part of tools to help us communicate throughout these meetings. So you all are here today, so you must have, known that in order to join Zoom, you needed a computer or a cell phone, and that has worked well. If you had any issues with that, you can also feel free to email that mferrer@hardercode.com. And if you did experience some issues logging in, you can send your comments there as well. But we just want to let you know that if you, in the future, if you do have to log in only on your phone, and you cannot use the Zoom app, if you just must dial in on telephone, regular telephone, you will always have packet posted in the 8617 website. So you will always be able to follow along using that packet and listening in on your phone. But you can either log in on a phone audio or a computer audio. You know, reflect on your experience logging in today. And hopefully there's an opportunity for you to share throughout the meeting at some point, maybe if you ask a question, just so that you can see how your audio is going. If you have any trouble with it, sometimes the internet connection issues might make it better for you to call in using your phone. So that depending on where you're at future meetings, you might have to adapt from either calling in on a phone or calling in on computer audio. And so hopefully you all saw that there's details about how to log in using a phone. And that's pretty standard. Anytime you use Zoom, you should have an option to log in on a phone call, and you'll see those numbers, not the ones displayed here, but you'll see a similar setup. And so definitely look out for that at future meetings where we'll show you those meeting invitation. It will include a link to the Zoom, and it will also include the numbers displayed here. So as you saw, there are various features on Zoom. You have, we're able to see each other, you're able to raise your hand, you're able to chat with each other, you have reactions. There might be a time where we ask committee members, or we ask somebody else to be presenting. And in that case, you have the share screen feature for you to be able to do that. So that's what your toolbar looks like. Again, if there are any questions about that, you can type them into the chat box. But in the interest of all of us having quite a bit of time with Zoom right now, you probably have had a chance to check it out yourself. So I'll go a little bit fast through these slides. But if you haven't already noticed, you are able to mute and unmute yourself. As common practice, what we'd like to say is if you do want to speak and share next, we would like for you to use the raise your hand feature, or the reaction where it shows like a hand, but it's actually a clap, but it looks like a raise your hand. So if you do want to speak, we would like to ask members to just raise your hand rather than unmuting yourself, just so that we can prevent various people talking at the same time. I know that's not an issue right now, and it might not be an issue today, but let's just, keep that in mind when we will have some discussions about the work for AB 617. You might want to, it might be a very engaging discussion, and we just want to make sure that one person speaks at a time. So we'll always have a person that will be unmuting and muting. Again, so most of us are sharing our screen, so you figured that out, but if you're in a place where you're not able to, you also don't have to, but those are the settings there. If you didn't already see it, when you press participants, you're able to see your hand raised. If you want to speak, that's what that icon will look like. And again, you have these slides in case you want to review these after. So here are the reactions that I was mentioning. It really does say clap, but we like the icon as a raise the hand. So, but if someone is presenting and you wanted to clap, feel free to use it. All right. So if there comes a time where you have to share your screen, this is what it would look like when you press share screen. I will not invite you all to practice that right now, because then your screen will be shared. But for now, just know that that's what it would look like, and you would choose which screen you want to be shared. You can just choose one document to be displayed, or you can ask that the entire monitor or device that you're seeing is shared. So I will take a moment and pause here and see if there are any questions. We're looking for any raised hands, or if there are any comments in the chat box about anything about Zoom. Okay, looks like we're ready to start with the presentation. But if you do have questions, please type them in there. So first up is going to be Comité Cívico del Valle giving a presentation on the community air monitoring plan. So I will mute myself and Christian, take it away.
All right, thank you, Daniela. Just FYI, I don't see the slides on the Zoom meeting. I don't know if you stopped sharing your screen, but I do have them up in front of me. Okay, just there we go. Just took a little while to load. All right. So as everybody on the committee knows, Comité Cívico is going to be doing the community air monitoring component to our camp. Those approved last September. At the last meeting, we did decide on the final locations with some slight changes based from September to last month. We were approved for funding by the county in mid-March to do this task. And we took to it very fast. Here in the pictures, you can see all the monitors that our technical staff put together. And that's his son right there in the slides, if you can see him right there. So we have been working diligently. We ordered every custom component, the enclosures, everything has been put together. And they're pretty much, the monitors physically are ready to go. We can go to the next slide, Daniela. Okay. And here's the deployment timeline where we started and where we're at. So like I said, in September, we did have the camp approved. We got our subcontract from the approved by the Air District Board on March 17th. During March, we met the goal of ordering the monitor equipment. We built all of it in April once we got everything. We've been working with ARB's AQView team to get the data on the state portal that they've been developing. That piece is already completed as well. And now in May, we were scheduled to deploy the first 5, but COVID has made it a big hurdle to try to jump to right now. So I want to make sure that you guys are all aware of that. But myself and the other staff at TCV who are working on this monitoring project have been putting together a list. We've been reaching out to people that are willing to host monitors or live close by these sites that you guys selected. So these might be across the street from exactly the location you picked in some cases, because there are some areas where we can't site them because of power or internet issues, but we are working on that. And right now, I'd just like to give a call out, and if you guys know someone that you think might want to host a monitor nearby any of these sources that you guys selected, or these sites you selected in the scenario, feel free to reach out to Comité Cívico in case we haven't found that person and we're looking for more. As you know, this is a very compacted process that we have to do right now, where we have from now till the end of September, based on the deadline that's kind of set out in the camp and the blueprint to do this community monitoring work. Here we see in the timeline, you see the schedule where we're supposed to be at. So in May, we're supposed to have the first batch of monitors out. We already have the first one at APCD, which was co-located in last summer in July. The second deployment is supposed to happen this July. So, and then the final deployment, where by the time we have to have all the monitors up and running, is in September. And that's it for the camp update right now. I'd like to open it up for some questions if you guys have any.
There was one question from the audience on Facebook asking if there's money for trees, when is this going to be priority for AB 617?
I think we can get to that, or the Air District can better address it during the SERPs section. as some of these greening projects are part of the strategies that are outlined in the SERPs.
We'll let them know. Thank you.
You're muted, Daniela. We can't hear you.
Do any CEC members have any questions about what Christian just covered?
I do. This is John.
Hey, John, go ahead.
What would you say is the response from the locations as far as the sites are? You said that there's a little bit of a challenge, I guess is the word I'll use, in trying to cite them exactly or close by where we're at. So is that coming along pretty good, or is there some added work that we need to do there?
Yes, John. So that's why I mentioned that if you guys know anybody near these sites who might be willing to facilitate some kind of citing scenario, it'd be great. Right now, we've had some positive responses out of 2 sites already, out of the first 5 that we need to deploy, which one of them is in Calexico near the Nosotros Park, the other one being near the east part of entry. But that's going to require a little bit of talking with some administrative staff there. And then there's another one that we've been approached by an individual who wants to be a host near one of the schools in Calexico as well, to host a monitor there. So there's 3 that are already underway in conversation. But if you guys need a refresher on the sites, we can send a list in case anybody knows anybody that can help facilitate citing in some of these other locations.
Christian, this is Matt. Is there a concern or is there a need to get the sites at the actual schools though? Because we wanted to incorporate that into the flag program, conventional flag program, and future electronic flag program as possible.
I believe it's better to be at the schools if we want to incorporate the flag program into it, yes.
Okay.
But this individual that offered his personal residence is across the street from the school, so it's still relatively close.
Okay, yeah, very good. Thank you.
I see a comment from Aida Fulton, and she would like to see the list, Christian, of the sites.
Okay.
So maybe as a follow-up, we can just resend that list to refresh the committee members on what was decided, since at the March meeting, we've made some decisions about that. So we can send that.
I can follow up with a clean list where we've been working, and if any, we'll share some of the contacts that we've already made in some of these sites to see if anybody knows if the same person or someone else that they can recommend to us these locations.
Great. Are there any other questions for Christian and Comité Cívico working on the community air monitor in deployment and installation? I don't see any. So at this time, I think, we'll move on to the next presentation. But if some questions do come up, you may share them in the chat, and hopefully we'll have a few minutes at the end of the meeting to discuss anything else that comes up for folks.
Okay, noted your comment, Ida. I'll add that to maybe invitations to the meetings as well to some of these folks.
Great. Okay, So I will stop sharing my screen. I don't, the Air District will give an update on the community emissions reduction program. There's no presentation, but they will be giving an update. So please go ahead, Air District.
Okay, hello. This is Thomas Brinkerhoff. Thank you everyone for joining in. We appreciate.
1 second, Thomas. I don't want to interrupt you, but I hear an echo, so I will ask anyone from the Air District that is in that office to please mute yourself while Thomas is talking. Thank you.
Okay. Is that better?
Okay. I think that might be good. Go ahead, Thomas.
Okay. All right. So again, thank you everyone for chiming in and being here. And I have a quick update for everyone on the community emissions reduction program. Just 1 second here for this echo. Is that better? No. How about now?
Still hear it.
Here.
Lower your volumes. I think it's getting kicked back from the other computers.
Is that a little better? Speak. Hello?
Okay, try that again, Thomas.
Okay, hello everyone. Is that I think it sounds better here now. Yeah. Is that better? Okay. All right. Okay. So the Air District over the past couple months, before the pandemic hit, we've been working closely with the Heber Elementary School District to look at the proposals that they have for air filtration upgrades and air filtration projects at both Heber School and at Dogwood Elementary. We've been assessing both of these projects along with IQ Air, who have installation of this kind over at Sealy School and Grace Smith in the county. IQ Air has done the assessments. They did the assessments toward the end of last year, beginning of this year, to see which air conditioning HVAC units at each school site could use an upgrade of high performance filters, which would reduce particulate matter emissions, pollens, dust, and would clean up the indoor air for the students, for the children, for the faculty, and for visitors at the schools. So we've been working closely with the school district, and we are in the process of drafting the contracts, the agreements with both schools, and working to see how this information would be going to the state as we move forward. And we anticipate getting these contracts finalized in June so that we can do these installations for both schools this summer as soon as possible and take advantage of this downtime that we have right now so that these installations can happen as efficiently as possible. And when the schools reopen, those enhanced filters will be there and to better clean the indoor air for everybody who's at each school site. So we will keep you updated on that as we move forward. But that is where we are with the air filtration projects initially right now for the 2 schools in Heber. And we will be looking, of course, to expand that and look at other school sites throughout our corridor of El Centro, Heber, and Calexico, as we have outlined in our SERP. We are also have been having discussions with the city of Calexico on the proposal that they've shared with us on urban green projects, green space projects within the city that would be establishment of green walls, vegetation, trees in various spots of the city to better the air and to enhance the community there for the residents. We are anticipating reaching out and getting a hold to see that we can get the city of Calexico here for the next meeting in June so that they can give a presentation to give specifics on their proposal and how we can use the money that we have set aside in our SERP to go towards a project of that kind in Calexico, and to go from there and see what we could do and expand that to other proposals throughout the corridor of El Centro, Heber, and Calexico. So that's what we have right now for what we've been working on over the past couple months. what's in play, along with our other commitments that we're looking at and how they're going to be shaping up and how we can meet our goals in our SERP. One of the things that I did want to share with you, if the committee members had not heard yet, was there is a chapter in the community air protection incentives guidelines that has been drafted, and there will be a webinar, a public webinar tomorrow evening from 4 to 6. And for any of the members that do not have this information, I'll be sending out an email to everyone after this meeting with the link so you can register and be a part of this public forum to see about the information that's going to be included in this chapter that's going to be focusing on stationary source projects and community-driven projects that can be tied to an AB 617 community such as ours, and that we can explore projects that are driven by the committee and how we can shape these projects so that we can get further reductions in our community. I don't have anything else right now. I'm not sure if Matt or Belinda or anyone else here does, but that's what we have here for our SERP update.
I see a comment from Ide. Would you like to unmute yourself and share a little bit? I see your comment. It says, we've talked about getting a list, doing an inventory for current projects in El Centro, Calexico, and Heber, and to unite efforts. Is there something else to add to that, Ida? I would ask for the co-chairs to respond to that.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, because I was so concerned. I had the last time, you know, that we wanted to invite those people from the arts or recreations that are already currently doing projects, and some of the ones in Calexico. Unfortunately, since this pandemic, I have not been able to reach out to them. But since Blake, is it Thomas Brink, went to the schools and it's doing these contracts, I wonder if there's any way we can find out if there's any, you know, projects that they know. They're currently being.
I was just going to say, so we have reached out to the city of El Centro and the city of Calexico on projects that they feel could be useful and that could link up with what we want to accomplish in SERP. And we have had those discussions that took place. When we hope we can keep that momentum going. Of course, there was some I wanted to call it delays, but with the pandemic that hit, those conversations that we had before the pandemic and in the early days of the pandemic, that have been kind of put on hold as the cities have dealt with other emergencies. However, we have had those conversations, and what we plan to do in our next meeting is to have a more robust update, and hopefully we can get those cities here to participate. That things will calm down further so that they can participate as a viewing member or give a short presentation on what they have envisioned. And at the very least, we can put this together, these ideas that they have, these bigger ideas, and on like a one sheet, and share that with you all before next meeting.
That is great. Thank you.
What about for other committee members? Do you have any questions for either presenters, either regarding the Community Emissions Reduction Program or the Community Emissions, the Community Air Monitoring Plan?
Daniela, before you go on, we could get Thomas to address the question that we got from the Facebook Live regarding the tree planting, I think that was.
Yes, thank you, Christian. Somebody asked, what about trees? And so maybe you can respond regarding the strategies on the SERP.
So yeah, to add further, this goes back to what we've had the discussions and the proposal, the high-level proposal received from the city of Calexico. So we do, as of course pointed out in our SERP, we have a minimum funding threshold of at least, I believe it's Belinda, if you can correct me, $300,000, a minimum of $300,000 out of the year one monies that we're getting for our community for urban green projects. So there is dollars available for planting trees and getting these green projects throughout our corridor up and running. The first proposal that we've seen has been from the city of Calexico, but we will be looking at other proposals and talking with the cities and other stakeholders throughout the corridor to see what we can do and to see if we're going to be, when the time it will be to open up an RFP or an application process so that we can see these proposals come in and see what would be the most effective way to spend our money in our community.
And the RFP, just to put it in lay terms, is a request for proposals. So that is what Thomas was referring to.
Thank you for that.
So they put out a public announcement that they're receiving applications for those proposals to be done in the community. Anything else from committee members that comes top of mind? This is the opportunity for you to express your ideas, your questions about, you know, the work moving forward. As you know, the last 2 months have been important as we shift into the implementation of both the camp and the SERP that you all have been working really hard on over the last year to get those completed. And so now that they're completed, we're moving on to implementing. What kind of questions come to mind? What kind of topics do you want to hear about moving forward? This is the opportunity to share those things with the committee, with the fellow committee members, and also with the co-chair, so that we can ensure that this process and the AB 617 in the Imperial County community continues to be informed by you and by the residents that you represent. So I want to encourage you all to share what's top of mind for you and any questions you have.
So it looks like Aide has a comment. So she understands that there's high school projects for planting trees during Earth Day. They either get trees donated or they donate themselves.
Okay, so we'll note that comment and make sure it goes into the record. I think Blake is raising his hand.
Yeah, I just had a comment. I think we have a little bit of a unique opportunity, and a lot of our focus is on schools with just reduced vehicle trappic around schools, no car lines. And I think I'd kind of like to challenge, CCV and the Air District to take a look at what is the impact of that at, 7 to 9 o'clock when there's a lot of drop off. And I think we have a really good opportunity maybe to do some streamlined car drop offs, a lot of idling cars certain times of the year. And I think that this is kind of unprecedented this time of year to have no cars going at those schools. So I think that'd be something I'd like to hear about in the future. I think we have a really at another meeting, just kind of taking something that's a bad situation and finding if we can learn something from it. I think that this is kind of unprecedented this time of year to have no cars going at those schools.
Thank you, Blake, for your comment.
So I think that'd be something I'd like to hear about in the future. At another meeting,
what about other committee members?
Something that's a bad situation and finding if we can learn something from it. So.
Thank you, Blake, for your comment.
We see some agreement from Mary Salazar.
What about other committee members? Now, I know you're more talkative than this in person. I see Thomas Oliva raising his hand. You can unmute him and he can share.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see your faces after many, many months.
Now, I know you're more talkative
so
than
my
this
question really
in
is
person.
kind of piggybacking off Mr. Plord's comment, and that is that considering these extenuating times and the pandemic, having to stay home, we know that people are driving less, right? There's less people crossing at the border, less people probably utilizing public transit. I'm sure Mr. Desert and his team has seen some impacts as it relates to air quality, probably having to stay home in a positive note. We know that people are driving less. And so my question really is just crossing at the border. How much of the data that we're collecting right now, the monitors, I'm sure Mr. Desert, how much of those are going to be considered outliers as we plug them into the formula, as we have them reflect during these times? And are we seeing positive changes in air quality in and around the border during this time?
Of the data that we're collecting right now.
And how has that affected our attainment ability or status on attainment or non-attainment?
To the formula as we have them reflect during these times.
Yeah, hi, this is Matt.
Are we seeing
The
positive changes in
air quality has improved, not only in Imperial County, but worldwide. I think we've all seen.
And how has that affected our attainment ability or status on attainment or non-attainment?
Yeah, hi, this is Matt. The air quality has improved, not only in Imperial County, but worldwide. I think we've all seen articles about that. We first saw them in China as things broke out in a larger way in China first, and they went to the isolation mode and shut down things, and we started seeing the better air quality in China. And the monitors that we're putting out are primarily particle-based for PM10 and PM2.5. We are moving forward with our state implementation plans that are currently being reviewed and also being challenged. We're positive that what the steps that we've taken for the attainment will continue to move forward to a logical outcome. And remember, the criteria pollutants for the attainment don't have these type of monitors at the neighborhood level, but to everybody's those type of monitoring are very knowledge that we have seen improvements. We need to make sure that we spend both in New Mexicali and Imperial Valley and attainment or health concerns those like asthma. Minor that takes me back times now when schools are closed and those people are living by the schools. But to everybody's, I don't think we've actually captured that in any type of narrative, both in Mexicali or our newscasts, Valley, those. But I think everybody in the community has noticed the improvements now when schools are closed as we travel around or go outside and walk. None more so than those people that live in actually capture that with any type of traffic narrative, students on and off in the morning and the afternoons. Not really a straight answer on that, I think, Tomas, but everybody in the community has. We have noticed improvements. The news, national news has reported improvements around or go outside. And I think it's a real wake-up call to everybody. Earth Day happened a few weeks ago, and Mr. Ometo and I were talking that maybe out of all these things, we learn how to use Zoom. We learn how to change our lives somewhat. And ideally, maybe we change it for the better. The national news has reported improvements. And I think it's a real wake-up call to everybody. Earth Day happened a few weeks ago. And Mr. Ometo and I were talking that maybe out of all these things, we learn how to use Zoom. We learn how to change our lives somewhat. And ideally, maybe we change it for the better. And maybe we extend Earth Day to Earth Week in the future. Luis and I were talking about that. That's all.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so I'm kind of looking around and see if there are any other questions and see if there are any other
using Zoom, that we might have some more meetings using Zoom. I think our board meetings probably will go back to normal, but we have a lot of technical meetings that we will have an opportunity to use Zoom. And frankly, what we're experiencing on our, let's say, our technical advisory committees, we're having great participation using Zoom because people are are able to join, spend the time out of the day to join those meetings, as opposed to the time that they might have to come, drive to our office and to then join the meeting and then drive back to their offices. And so I think that there's some opportunities moving forward. I think as a transportation agency, we're going to have to start looking at more about what are the benefits of reduced traffic, and the benefits of telecommuting. We're obviously seeing some great benefits to telecommuting, and so is it something that agencies and companies are going to start to carry forward? That's my 2 cents. Thanks.
That's an important point, Mark. Thank you. And I see some conversation on chat agreeing with folks, so feel free to do that too. And you can also use the reactions to put thumbs up if you agree with what folks have been saying. You can also use your regular old thumb. So I'll go ahead and let's unmute Luis Olmedo so that he can share next.
Yeah, I just wanted to just do a very brief follow-up to Mr. Oliva's comment. The federal government, the federal administration has, launched an assault on all our environmental policies. The SIP, and I know the Air District will have more detail to this, but I know one of their SIPs had cleared all the way to the US EPA. There was a public comment period, and the US EPA intends to assign him a clean bill of compliance to that SIP. There is the law allows for Air District to make a case for exceptional events, meaning that things that are outside of their control. We, as an organization, Comité Civil has never agreed with that piece of that exemption, but it's there nonetheless, and the Air District has that opportunity to make that case, so as the state, and so that the federal government looks at it in that manner. We do have a significant amount, as we learn more and more, and these meetings have kind of shed a light on the cross-border pollution. There is no better diplomacy than that comes from the federal government and our federal electeds. And so it's going to be really important. I know that we've sent out a letter regarding the farm workers and the risks that they had crossing the border in terms of COVID, but in similar manner, we really need very strong leadership at the federal level from our congressmen, from our senators, to help us carry out this diplomacy, not only holding the local accountability, the pushbacks from the federal government wanting to, again, launch an all-assault on our Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, and many other environmental policies that aren't really going to necessarily favor anyone, regardless of whether it's industry or community or health. California has proven time and time again that our economies can thrive with good, well-informed policies, as well as protect our economy. But these are, again, opportunities that are federal representatives can really help us step in and help us, because they have the full authority, the federal government, at carrying out these diplomacies and cross-border coordination. So, thank you. One more thing before I sign off, I do want to say that the if the Center for Biological Diversity did submit a filed suit in regards to Imperial's designation. The SIP gets sent up to the state approves it, federal government approves it, the Center for Biological Diversity disagrees with it. So that's an active suit that will go through its course. Thank you. federal government approves it.
Thank you, Luis.
The Center for
All valid points. So we are getting close to the 7 p.m. mark, but again, we have a few minutes, so I just want to see if there's anyone else that wants to get into all valid points. Okay. So actually, in the interest of time, we are getting close to the see if there are any p.m. mark, but agency again, we have a few minutes, so I just want to see if there's anything else that you want to share. Their district or Comité Cívico, or I know CARB, the state, the California Air Resources Board is also on the line. Is there any updates that you all want to share? I'll see if there are any agency updates that either the Air District, if there's anything else that you want to share.
Again, this is just a reminder to complete your census. We are in the census year, and I think just the fact that we're in a pandemic that shows how many resources we need, especially in our area, because we're still counted as rural. So be sure to complete your census. The self-response is still going up day by day, but we're hoping that we can get near 100% for all of Imperial Valley. So just get on that. You should have received your code through the mail, but you can also just go to the census website and kind of do it. It takes about 10 minutes to go through it.
Great. Thank you, Christian. Anything from the Air District that you haven't already shared? I know you shared a couple upcoming meetings.
No, we're still staying active on these projects, as Mr. Brinkerhoff shared, but everything came to a screeching halt with COVID. So, in the essence of saving time, we're going to pick those meetings up, and continue to work with our partners at CCV and try to get these projects shovel ready as we are waiting for the funding to come in for the first year one. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Matt. Does the California Resources Board have anything to add? Any agency updates?
This is Dave from CARB, and I'll just add, I mean, I think Thomas hit sort of something that we do have coming up is with regards to tomorrow's webinar on incentives and the ability to fund both the stationary projects as well as the community identified projects, which are projects that are identified by the committee within the emission reduction programs that you guys developed. And I just want to give kudos to you all for obviously during this time of not being able to meet in person, that you guys are continuing to meet on this monthly basis as much as possible, and doing this through any sort of means possible via like Zoom like this. I think it's great that you guys are doing that, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. And we really appreciate the state being on here. Luis, does that see a hand raise?
Yeah, I just wanted to, as a closing comment, I do want to highlight the importance of how this committee is making such a big impact, creating a space for working together. I do want to share what I feel it's an ongoing issue that we have to keep monitoring, but we are having successes, and we joined forces here with the Air District to submit a letter to the governor's office, to the secretaries, both on natural resources and the Cali PA. We're very concerned about the New River taking a hit with COVID-19, very rightfully so. Seeing a lot of priority, and right now there's the May revise for those who kind of follow the calendar. We should see the budget perhaps come out today. That's kind of what the calendar timeline looks like. So hopefully we'll see a glimpse at the new revised budget. We're hoping that New River stays in there because there was $18 million of general fund. General fund is like the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to making these cuts, right? This was a one-time allocation. We feel that the swift action, not just from the Air District and ourselves, submitting a letter, or Assembly Member Dardo Garcia, as well as other local agencies, including the IID, really taking this very serious. If anybody wants to submit additional letters, let us know. If we clear the budget for the governor, we still have committees that the New River will be presented on. And again, until we get that, so this budget clears all debates, we really need to make ourselves strongly known, very loud, and and letting the governor and the legislature know in support of our legislators in the state, including Assembly Member Lauro Garcia, is helping and supporting them that the New River is a public health issue. COVID is a public health issue. And that's why both are really extremely important. We have a letter that we may perhaps APCD, you know, if you want to share or share, send it around. I know you have the copy. We both signed, Matt. Please take all the talking points you like from that. It's pretty detailed, and it's getting about the importance of the economy, the shovel-ready project, the public health issue. So with that, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yes, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, so, kudos to you, Luis, for driving that letter and that signing. And what really brought us to the ability to do it in such a fast manner was the concern and the success of the 617 committee. And as Luis mentioned, Assembly Member Eddie Garcia followed up with another letter, and these monies are just disappearing every hour that have been allocated. So I think we'll include that letter, Luis, on letterhead with both signatures. We'll need to get that from you in our next agenda packet. That'd be great to have in the record book for the 617 efforts and concerns. That's all.
Great, noted. On that note, are there some topics that the Air District or Comité Cívico has already identified for future meetings? Kristen, go ahead.
And we'll try to keep everybody updated on the progress on the community monitors. And I think Thomas mentioned earlier that they were trying to set up the meeting or the presentation from the staff from Calexico as well. I don't know if Thomas has any other topics right now.
Yeah, go ahead, Thomas. Can we unmute him? Millie. Great. So that was Thomas Brinkerhoff. Great, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Christian, for summarizing that. Beyond that, I believe we will be having an update on where we are with the proposals that we have looked at so far to date on the mobile monitoring platform that we're looking at for our community corridor. So we'll be looking at bringing that topic back at our next meeting, in addition to inviting the city of Calexico to go over again their urban greening project, and also reaching out to our partners and to the cities so that they can hopefully be free and available for our next meeting to participate.
Great. Okay, so I think that basically covers the topics that we wanted to share. You know, to finalize the meeting, I think it was great that those of you have been using the chat and have been, you know, unmuting yourself to share. You all have made really important points, and they're all going into the record. And you know, just want to use this final meeting to the final minutes for any closing remarks that committee members or the co-chairs want to share with each other. Since it's been a little while since we've talked, and a lot of people have brought up really important points. So does anyone have any closing remarks?
This is John.
Go ahead, John.
You know, I'm reflecting on what Tomas said about, you know, what the changes we're seeing with the lack of movement of mobile sources, and also with Ron's comment that we're going to see maybe it jump back to what we had before. But thinking about, we're already going to go into about maybe 3, maybe 4 months of this. So I'd like to start the conversation about, you know, what the impacts and start seeing the data on what the impacts of the changes of COVID-19 are having on stationary and mobile sources in our community.
Okay. Thank you. Your comment has been noted. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, John, we can take a look at that from this air district standpoint on our stationary monitors. And Committee Civic will need to take a look at the Ivan system to put the same type of a time period together over the last 3 months at a minimum. So we'll try to get that together by the next meeting.
Ida has her hand raised as well.
I just had a quick closing remark. You know, how important it is maybe through this AB 617 website to increase education on the importance of encouraging patients or families that have asthmatics to continue to go to the doctor, you know, to continue to refill their medications. I have multiple calls from patients that used to be our patients. We no longer have the largest Imperial Valley Child Asthma Program. We're no longer doing outreach to those communities. So people are really confused and scared on taking their kids to their provider and what they're doing, and they're taking them when they're actually having symptoms. And so I think that through our website, if possible, we could educate them, you know, on the importance. There's doctors who have telemedicine, I mean, through television, they can do consultations. Perhaps I did my daughter's yesterday with her doctor, and that way, but we need to continue to educate the parents to continue to refill those medications, and maybe through our AB 617, we can push this effort.
Thank you, Ida. Thomas Oliva, I see your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. I really wanted to thank Christian for mentioning about the census. And this just kind of goes because of the times that we have. You guys are all stakeholders in the community. You all have people that you can reach out to. And I just would like to ask that if you know of anybody that hasn't received their stimulus checks,
upwards to 70%.
We also wanted to have the discussion to see if if there's interest of having the meeting on the third Wednesday of the month, which would be June 17th, just to give us all a little bit more time to get used to this platform and how we're going to disseminate the information and gear everything and get everything ready for next meeting for everybody here. Would the June 17th work for everyone here?
Let's take a vote on that.
Okay, so folks, you can also use the chat function to just put yes or, okay. Or if you don't agree, you can also put no and suggest a different date or suggest something else. I see consensus from Aide, Blake, John, Michael.
And some folks are also using the thumbs up. So I don't know, Danny, if you need them to explicitly write it out on the chat.
Let's please write it on the chat for this purpose, because it will stay on the record. And as we mentioned, the transcript, we get a copy of that after, and just so that it's in the record of what the vote was. If you can please type either thumbs up, yes, I agree, onto the chat box so that we know that you're okay with hosting the next meeting on June 17th, and that is the third Wednesday of June, rather than the second like we usually meet. So I see a yes from Dr. Ken. I see a yes from Tomas Oliva, Matt Desert, Sergio Cabanas. So far, I see consensus.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like, yeah, looks like that works for folks. So Thomas, it looks like we can put that in the books and send the committee members save the date.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll go ahead and put that as a tentative date, and we'll put that as a save the date for June 17th, Wednesday, June 17th, and we'll shoot for this time, 5:30, and we'll also set it up for 5:30 to 7. And next time around, I'm sure we will get through some of these hiccups a little more efficiently, and it would be a little smoother. This is all a big learning process for everybody involved. So we thank everybody for their patience.
Absolutely. Yes, and if you do want to provide some feedback on how you felt about this meeting, you can continue to send your comments to mferrer@hardercode.com, and we're happy to hear from you. And for those of you who received a call from us and from anyone in the agency, please, that is also another channel for communication. So if you ever want to get your comments in by phone, you can also give us a call. I don't see any more comments. I see some thumbs up. So, I think I'll turn it over to the co-chairs to adjourn and say any final remarks.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for also giving us the patience and learning this. I know we had a hiccup with the translation, as Danielle mentioned, but I think everything kind of smoothed out. Moving forward, I'm hopeful that we'll get this up and running in no time. It's just a steep learning curve. And thank you to Hardware Company for facilitating so much and being able to moderate the streams, getting questions in, and collecting the opinion and helping us check in on the CSC members. I know we spoke to at least all of you through either text, email, or the phone over the last couple of weeks to try to see how you were doing and how you could participate in the meetings. So thank you very much. Matt, do you have any closing remarks?
No, everyone. Good night. Thank you for your attendance, and we'll keep moving forward with this new tool, Zoom, as long as we need to.
Great. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night. And again, continue to keep each other safe and healthy and adhering to the social distancing. That's so important. So take care of yourselves. And if you need anything at all, AB6 or 7 or not, I think that, the co-chairs would agree that we're all available to support you in any way. Whether that be, sending you to any relief funds that are there or anything you could possibly need. We mean that from the bottom of our hearts. So please communicate with us when needed. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Daniela, and thank you, everybody, and stay healthy.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Sergio.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Gracias.